This is coming from a place of wanting to start fresh and clean.
This is going to be a destination spot.
We drafted a quick term sheet.
We need more money.
Will you turn that thing off, please?
Welcome into Box Office Quarterbacks, our long-awaited episode on The Bear Season 2. This is a show, Ahmed, that I think leveled up in the second season so much to where it is getting dangerously close to being the best show on TV. That's my initial thoughts. What did you think?
That's a fair assessment. When you told me that you'd watched it, I was like, okay, I got to check this show out. I didn't say anything about the show. And then when I saw season 2, I was still kind of taken aback and I still couldn't say anything. But that's just because it's speechless. Like, there's no words to describe what a good show this is. And I'm a fan of many words.
Yes. And the good thing about this season is you don't really need words to tell the story because the cooking can tell the story. And they really put that on display here more than anything. The fourth episode in the season called Honeydew, when Marcus goes to Copenhagen, that was one of the most beautiful episodes I've ever seen, where just the cinematography looks great of him sleeping on that boat to where he links up with Will Poulter's character, and then he's just kind of put through it to become a world-class pastry chef. And I love that episode. I loved Richie's arc this season, and I loved Carmy, of course, and all the family drama that we delve into with him and Mikey and everything that happened in their past and why he is the way he is now. It is definitely powerful. One of the most powerful seasons of television in a long time.
Yeah. And if you've watched it, and it's only until you've watched the first season that you can really appreciate the pace of the second season. Jeff, do you watch plays?
I do not.
So I've seen plays. I've seen good plays and I've seen bad plays. And season 1 is very much a play where they're kind of interrupting each other. Everything is so high intensity. Season 2 is a little bit more calm. It's a little bit more grounded. But it's because if you've ever worked in a restaurant, you can understand that everybody's the type of person, high intensity. There are people we need to impress. There are people waiting outside for their food. Don't send this out to them. It's the kind of thing that like you really have to have thick skin for. And with season 2, there's a little bit more compassion. But you can only find that compassion until you've really figured out who you are. And with Carmy, it's like the theme is him figuring out himself slowly and slowly.
Yeah, and you really peel back the layers, which I guess we could go pun intended because this is a cooking show. But when you get to the 6th episode of the season, which is Fishes, and the Christmas dinner, the hour-long episode that's star-studded with John Bernthal, Bob Odenkirk, Jamie Lee Curtis, John Mulaney, and Sarah Paulson. Like, holy crap. It's like a murderer's row of actors. And that's when you really see just where Carmy's mindset comes from and where Mikey's mindset comes from, which is his mom or their mom, Donna, the way she's just so neurotic about everything and just how she won't let anybody cook and the family drama there and the tension between Bob Odenkirk and John Bernthal where they're throwing forks at each other. Dude. Holy shit. That's a Hall of Fame episode within itself.
No, absolutely. And it's one of those episodes that like is meant to be a Hall of Fame episode. And I'm always a cynic. Jeff, you know me. You know that I'm very cynical about episodes that are insistent upon themselves. But this is one of those where you're like, oh, no, this is real. Jamie Lee Curtis would not have done this show if she didn't believe in the show. John Mulaney would not have done the show if he didn't believe in this show. And that being said, it is Hall of Fame worthy. It's a slow burn, and then when you watch it, you can see the fireworks unravel, and all you can do is kind of just clench your teeth and kind of just like how any other family function works, where two people are arguing and you're just like, should I intervene or should I just do I say something?
Yeah, there are definitely families that will yell and scream and do all that stuff around the holidays. It is so much deeper than that. Like there's so much hurt under everything with the loss of Carmy and Mikey and Sugar's dad in there. You have the tension that Bob Odenkirk, who is Uncle Lee, even though he's not really the uncle, he is kind of like the on again, off again boyfriend of Donna. And you have that in there. You have the dynamic between Sugar and her mom, and she gets it the worst out of the three siblings, where she is just wrung out by her mom any chance that Donna gets, and you see why she is the way she is. I can't stop talking about this episode because it is just so fantastic.
And I know the show is about cooking, but this is really a show about the craft of acting. There are characters that they have become. Jamie Lee Curtis is somebody that we know for different roles, but she just envelops this role. Carmy, Jeremy Allen White, who let's just say it, he's becoming kind of an overnight sensation because of this role. But he's been in Shameless. He was in Movie 43, which is a small role he had in Movie 43. And if you haven't watched that movie, you don't need to watch it. But like, there are these characters that have become these characters, and that's a testament to acting when you don't recognize them as the actors themselves, and to be able to kind of become this character that is a professional chef, to go through the trials and errors. That's not one thing that I'm not a chef, but I'm learning how to cook. But from working in restaurants and seeing the kind of tensions that people go through, there's no time for bullshitting. We don't have time. They don't have time for half-assed shit. There are people waiting for their food. So it's one of those things where when he makes you believe, Jeremy Allen White as Carmy and Jamie Lee Curtis as his mother, you can kind of see how they're very similar. And you see that, like, wow, there's a reason why Carmy's the way he is. There's a reason why he doesn't have the patience for a lot of things. There's a reason why he's so stressed out all the fucking time.
Yeah.
And and I know we're talking about season 2, but let me bring it back to season 1 for just a brief minute. In season 1, it's implied that Mikey, aka the Punisher.
Yes, let's just call him the Punisher.
Punisher.
Yeah.
It's revealed that he's killed himself, which is a real deal. If you guys have any issues, please call somebody, talk about it. No one's going to judge you for calling someone saying you're not okay. When Carmy kind of tells this story in his monologue, I want to say in the 7th or 8th episode of season 1, where he kind of just says, me and my brother were close. We were good friends. But then I realized he was everybody's best friend. And he realizes that, like, everything that he did out of spite kind of is what made him become the greatest chef in the world, but also sort of alienated him. It's what kind of makes him so stressed out. Like, it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter how much effort I put in, because there's always going to be somebody that's going to tell you, you ain't shit. You're never going to be shit. And we see that a lot more in the last episode.
Yeah. And while Carmy's viewpoint is kind of shifted, where, he got the 3 Michelin stars, like he did it, like he got to the highest echelon of his career. So the important thing to him now is just running his own place. For Sydney, who is the co-lead of this show, her main goal is to catch up to Carmy. And there's so much to their dynamic this season as well, too, where Sydney is scoping out these different restaurants and taking notes and reading the Coach K book and doing all this stuff. She had the happiest character arc of the season, because this season does end on a very somber note, but Sydney does achieve what she set out to do, which is to run a very successful restaurant. And I liked her arc as well this season.
She also finds a new hero. Let's bring it back to season 1. She worships Carmy. She is like, this guy's, he was the chef de cuisine at one of the greatest restaurants in the world, blah, 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 blah. And none of the other chefs in the restaurant know this. Or if they do, they don't give a fuck. She's the only one that knows and cares. But in season 2, she's kind of like, wow. It's kind of like meeting your hero and then realizing he's not who you thought he was going to be or she was going to be. And she's having to reconcile that and then find a new hero in somebody that, you know, let's face it, is kind of like an esoteric individual.
Yeah.
And we start to kind of see like other people's character arcs. So everybody's kind of trying to figure themselves out. And it's only until the very end that we see Carmy. But I loved Richie's
I
arc.
loved Richie. Richie's my favorite character this season.
This season, yeah, not the first season.
Richie was such a dick in the first season, but now you find out why he is such a dick. And so he had the biggest arc from season 1 to season 2, where Richie is just kind of lost. He was working at the beef when Mikey ran it. He's still there with when Carmy is now in charge, but you find out that we knew he was divorced, but we find out more of that relationship. Episode 7, Forks, when he goes and he's kind of shadowing that high-class restaurant in Chicago, and he's just kind of put through the ringer, polishing those forks for days in and days out, and him finally snapping into it. Like, it finally snaps for him, and he's driving home listening to Taylor Swift, and that, honestly, it could be my favorite episode of this season, because the day after I watched that, I was driving to work listening to Taylor Swift as well.
No, Jeff, I'm so glad you brought that moment up, because that resonated with me so much. I'm not going to get too into the details of what Jeff and I do for a living, but we're part of that industry where we have to like start from the fucking bottom. Yes, we're educated. Jeff and I have student loan debt. Jeff, do you have student loan debt?
Kinda.
Kinda? You sound. I don't need you to be good with money. Okay. For some people like me that are not good with money, we have student loan debt. And, it's one of those things where it's like, you work through this effort, you've done all this training, and then the training is not over. You're still having to clean forks? But I did all this training. Too fucking bad. Clean the forks. And if you get better, you can move on to spoons.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is when you want to become an icon, when you want to become like Chef Carmy, where you work at the best of the best of the best of the best, you got to start out doing the grind. And it's very humbling for someone like Richie, who was like, I got my own restaurant. What the fuck? But and a throwback to another episode that we've done, Secession, where we talked about Kieran
Roman Roy.
Roman Roy.
Yeah.
Where he has to go to business training camp. He's like, I am the royalty. This is my name. But he has to go to this training. You start learning like, no. This is what it is. If you can handle the bare minimum, then you can handle the big shit. And for someone like Richie to kind of see, oh, okay, I get it. This is what I had to do. But even then, it was still hard for him to kind of resonate with that. It was beautiful to kind of see that evolution.
Yeah.
Even Marcus, when Carmy kind of is frustrated with him and he drops the dessert cake on the ground, there's a reason why he did that. And Will Poulter,
yeah.
When he kind of is very, not strict with him, but he's very like, do it again. I liked that, but I was really expecting him to lose his shit. Like, I was expecting him to go Gordon Ramsay on his ass.
Yeah. And I'm kind of happy he didn't. Like, I'm kind of happy that he was just like a nice guy, because you don't see that in shows like this. Like Joel McHale's character in the first season was such a huge prick to Carmy, and that's part of the reason Carmy has so much anxiety. So
Yeah.
to have Will Poulter take the time and really sit down with Marcus and teach him, Marcus leveled up this season as well too. He is one of the strongest characters in the show, and then you have the dynamic with him and his mom, and like the text messages at the end of the season were very heartbreaking. But and then you have a dynamic with Sydney as well, where uh, there's like some type of romantic tension there. It might be a one-way street, but he's become very interesting, more so than the first season where he was just kind of the dessert guy. So they really dove into his character, and I loved him. Like so many people have their chance to shine. Fack, who is comic relief, he gets stuff as well.
Yeah, I like FAC, and I didn't realize that there were more than one of them.
Two facts.
No, there's apparently. Don't you remember that shit that Sugars that she did to Sugar or whatever? We don't know the reveal. We
Oh
just
yeah.
know the FAC sister did something to Sugar that
Oh
pissed
no.
her off.
They're like the Kelsos or something, is what they are. Yeah, but
But yeah,
Sugar has more to do this season, so that's good. Like she is part of the restaurant. Her husband randomly has the best scene in the entire season, which is at the end with Jamie Lee Curtis. So crazy that they gave it to him, to where he sees Donna outside, and then they have that moment where it's like, just don't tell him I was here. Tell him I'm proud of him. And then he accidentally reveals that Sugar and him are having the baby. So
yeah.
that was the music and everything in that final 10 minutes of that episode was fantastic.
And it's funny you bring up Sugar because I didn't know that that was Abby Elliott from SNL.
Yeah.
You also had another guy from SNL. And Jeff, I know you're hosting this episode, but if you don't mind, I want to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What do you think takes more talent? A comedic actor playing a serious role? Because let's just address the elephant in the room.
You have asked me this before on these episodes, but I will answer your question.
Did I ask you on the Barry episode?
You did ask me on the Barry episode, but
Then-
let's answer. But not everybody watches every episode, so ask
If
me
you
again.
haven't seen the episode, you can watch that episode next. But if you want to watch this one, then please stick around for this answer. Jeff, do you think it takes more talent to be a comedic actor to play a serious role, or a serious actor to play a comedic role? Because let's face it, this is supposed to be a comedy show, but it's more drama than it is comedy.
Yeah, I mean, comedic actor going dramatic is the answer here. And Abby Elliott was an SNL alum. You have one of the new chefs, like you said, that came in is on SNL currently. The one that was smoking meth in the Ellie. He is from SNL. You have so many different comedic actors that do this, and John Mulaney's in here. John Mulaney is a perfect example. Even though he was the comedic relief of that episode, he was able to put a very serious monologue together at the end of it. So it takes talent to do both, for sure, either way. But to be comedic and go dramatic is definitely very impressive to me.
Can we talk about John Mulaney for a second? Because that was a cameo I was not expecting.
Me
And
either.
considering the year and a half he's had, I'm so happy that he's doing well. I hope that he continues to do well. Baby J, if you haven't seen on Netflix sponsor us, John Mulaney. Follow us, subscribe to us, because we love you.
Yes.
I really hope he continues to do well. His reputation, as he mentions in Baby J, it is not skewed. He is still the same person we know and we adore, and that we know that still has a talent.
Yes, he's just on a lot less cocaine these days, as he will tell you. So,
Cocaine, Klonopin, and everything above.
yes, that was a great great performance by him in this. The one dynamic or relationship we haven't talked about is Carmy and Claire Bear.
Oh my
That
god!
is
Right.
that.
This wouldn't have been episode wouldn't have been complete had we not talked about Claire Bear.
Yeah. So when we first met her, I don't know what I thought of her. I thought she was just going on. She was coming on really strong to Carmy. Like, he gave her a fake number. She got it from one of the facts anyway. She's just kind of like going all in on him, and he is a little bit nervous about being in a relationship. At the end, when Carmy's stuck in the freezer and he doesn't know she's there, and he's just kind of spouting stuff off, that sucked, man. Like, it did for Carmy, because Carmy, I think, was in a good place, but I think this is fodder for season 3, where Carmy now has to go after Claire and just really focus in on what he wants in life. So I see why the writers did that.
No, and this is. I'm not going to talk too much about my own experience, but I totally get where he's coming from. You start when there's a reason why season 1 is full of tension, because it's very like, we need to go, we need to go, we need to fix this shit. Season 2 is a little bit more grounded, but there's that sense of imposter syndrome. And for those that don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that you don't feel like you belong here. There's a reason why Carmy thinks that the other shoe is about to drop, meaning that everything that he thinks is going to go wrong will go wrong. There's a reason why Sydney thinks that everything's going to go wrong because it didn't work out the first time. And then whenever things do go well, she still manages to throw up. And even though Carmy is locked up in the fridge and we're kind of just like, is anybody going to let him out? He is going to get out eventually.
Yeah.
They won't end the episode like that. This is one of those shows where someone just dies. This is more like
Yeah.
mob episodes. And like, that being said, it's like, no, when you put so much pressure on yourself, when you don't show yourself compassion, you do put yourself in a box. No pun intended.
And he was in a box. Like, there was some very specific choices there. I loved the shot of him and Richie where they're arguing and it's opened up, so you see inside the freezer and you see outside, and then the end when they're sawing the door open and the sparks are flying and Carmy's just sitting there. Shit, like, this show didn't need to be good in everything, but it is great in everything, from the shots to the writing to the scripts to everything. So that's gonna be my segue into the ranking of The Bear season 2. Ahmed, I will let you go first.
Hall of Fame, dude. Hall of friggin' fame. Because, man, I mean, what have we not said about this show, about the season? If you don't like it, then that just means you didn't understand it. Sadly, that also means you haven't struggled at all. With Carmy, it's very much so apparent that like there's stuff happening. There's PTSD is real, and it's one thing to face the fact that you've had it, but it's another to kind of have compassion with yourself to kind of experience that. Like when Carmy kind of is like, this is what happens when I let my guard down. I fucking let myself lock myself in a fridge or a freezer, and I don't have my eye on the ball. This is how shit goes down. When Oliver Pratt, oh my god, we didn't talk about Oliver Pratt.
That was the one we forgot, but he is great as Uncle Jay.
He's freaking amazing, and he tells you exactly what's about to happen. There's a guy, Stevie, whatever his name is, and it's not about him though. It's that the players took their eye off the ball and they screwed up, but everybody forgets about him and they focus on Stevie. And that is a foreshadow into what ends up happening. yes, you want this to be a certain way. You want this to work out this way. But as my therapist has said, man plans, God laughs. You and Andre 3000 of Outcast, you can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather.
Damn, you are pulling it all out tonight, my friend.
I'm
And
telling
it's true. It's all fucking true. But yeah, Oliver Platt is great. I still think of him as one of the two thieves in Beethoven, him and Stanley Tucci stealing the puppies. That's what I think of when I think of Oliver Platt.
Oh, I think
But
of him in what's that movie? Year One, where he said, "Rub oil on me or die."
oh no.
But
But yes, it is a Hall of Fame for me as well. I can't recommend this show enough.
a
Um,
thousand.
yeah, 1,000%, 1,000,000%. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
There's a reason why it's 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Don't get FOMO. Watch it.
Yeah, I can't say it any better than that. But this has been Box Office Quarterbacks. I am Jeff. That's my friend Ahmed. We will be back very soon with more episodes. Check out the review board. Ahmed has some great stuff up there. We'll talk to you guys very soon.